his story is a brilliant one, and I think that one thing that I think is good about this is that this venue will allow the UFC to tell his story a little bit more for those people who don't know who he is. And so I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I do appreciate that we can look beyond the obvious disability and say, this guy's a hell of a fighter. Dana White is not an idiot. He would not be bringing this guy in if he thought this guy was going to come in and get smoked. He thinks this guy can fight, but he just, he wants to put him into a place where they can sort of, dip their toe into
UFC was not putting him on a main card. They very rarely put newcomers on a main card unless you're someone who's like truly. If they signed Michael Chandler, I'm assuming he'd be on a main card. They weren't putting him on a main card, so this to me feels like the exact same thing as an undercard. Like, what's the difference? The only difference is Dana White is personally invested in his own show, and he wants to kind of use him. I'm not saying negatively, but kind of use him to prop up that new show.
It's also a function of how they match him. Who they match him up with.
That's very important.
So, I mean, let's see who they give him. They give him somebody really tough. Okay, that changes the debate a little bit. They give him somebody who just runs over them, whatever. But I don't know. I just, for me, again, I want to be very clear about this. I'm happy for Nick Newell, and I hope he goes in there and does everything that he thinks he can, and we're curious to see if he can do. But this debate, it's like, well, Dana White thinks he's a good fighter. The entire record of what Dana White has said about this guy has been prevailing skepticism and intransigent skepticism. So kind of you're just like, do you not look at the footage on this guy?
He hasn't.
And so it just kills me when we have to have these arguments. I have no problem putting a guy like Nick Newell on the Contender Series if it's all in good faith. But there's a part of me that feels like it's cynical about Nick Newell's upside and just cynical about promoting the Contender Series. And maybe that's because I'm a negative person, which I can admit.
Let's not pretend that the UFC hasn't signed guys who deserve to be in the UFC. So, like, Nick Newell not...
Greg Hardy.
No, like Ben Askren, like Fedor Emelianenko. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes they have these weird grudges. I mean, Joe Silva was the king of this, where he's just like, I don't want this guy in here, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And my understanding is there were matchmakers in the UFC who did not want, him to come and yes, because they don't want this on their heads.
Right.
I got enough problems. I got 600 fighters on my roster. Why do I have to worry with the 1% chance that something goes wrong here? That's the way. So to me, this feels like, look, it really does feel like the best of both worlds, and it feels to me like. I guess I'm hopeful that if he wins, as you correctly pointed out, he's not guaranteed. But I'd like to think that there's some sort of agreement that if he wins, he's getting by. Like this,
I would think so.
You know what I mean? Because it would be crazy. Could you imagine if he wins and they don't offer him a contract?
What if he wins and he barely scrapes by, split decision, gets covered in blood? They're just going to give him a contract? I don't know about that.
Yeah, I guess there's levels to one day.
But that's the proof is in the pudding. We have to actually perform. If he scrapes by against a guy who is at a low level, then sure, was he worth the contract?
Fair enough.
I guess my question is now that if he does win, and if they do put him on a main card next, and I guess they would be wise to put him either on a big Fox main card. There's a story to be told here, and a lot of people have been behind it. How big of a deal could this be? Like, is this the kind of thing that the UFC can really capitalize on in the sense that, like, Good Morning America, there's an amazing story here.
For that sort of thing, yes. He already has it. One of the rare pieces I did for ESPN Magazine was about Nick Newell.
Yeah.
That's the kind of outlet that will suddenly be interested. He will have that kind of appeal. It's just how will it do in terms of the actual space? Like, I feel like for people like us, we watched him fight. We know what he can do. I don't think we really, any of us really doubt his ability. We know what he can do, but I don't know how he'll be perceived ultimately. That's the part that waits to be seen. If he plows through that, you can't help but think he'll just be a feel-good story in a sport where this shouldn't. You know what I mean? Like the narrative always with MMA is like, it's the Wild West, and these guys, there's no rules and all this. And for a guy to succeed, just like when they looked at Ronda Rousey, here's the baddest woman on the planet suddenly. They're paying attention to MMA. They do the same thing. The people who would look in on the sport would just see an inspirational story. I know that Jim Abbott and guys like that have been advocating for him for a long time, just getting behind him. And you can see that. I can see that. I think that that's part of what's awesome about it. It's also awesome that he blurs the line. He doesn't make you see. In the end, you don't see his handicap. You only see his prowess as a fighter. That's what over the years, you don't really think about it anymore. You just like, when he if he takes him down, or what is he going to do? And it's a matter of time for a lot of these guys. So that's a credit to him. So I think that his story will have multiple layers, and that's the kind of thing it will do for the UFC. Is that outlets that normally would not cover the sport would suddenly be covering the sport.
Yeah, totally. The UFC is always looking for people who can break that wall, and they have very rarely had those people. They had Ronda Rousey, they have Conor McGregor, or we think they still have Conor McGregor, and can you name some of the? Chuck Liddell for a while was doing some things, but for the most part, it's a rarity for the UFC or MMA in general to have somebody who breaks into the larger, certainly the larger sports media maybe, but the larger cultural media as well, like Paige Van Zandt being on Dancing with the Stars. These kinds of things that I think are a big deal for this company. Well, here's a guy whose story is organic and real and feel good. I mean, and inspiring. These are all things. I mean, he is the anti-Greg Hardy. I mean, this is, Greg Hardy, Nick Newell.
Which makes these things happening on the same week very strange, right? Like, to me, this is a way, this is a way of saying to people, like, the Contender Series is something we feel very strong. Like, I think people need to get over the fact that the Contender Series is beneath anyone. I think they really...
You are.
Well, because it's going to be the new tough. It's a big thing.
The Contender Series is changing from season one. I think that's a certain reality.
Absolutely.
Brandon O'Malley came out. Like, that whole thing has really helped the situation, right? Because all of a sudden there's a star already kind of building out of that. So it helps.
Let me just, sorry, but just one thing about the upside. Look, I don't think he can beat the elite of the UFC. I could be wrong, but that's my hunch.
And there's 50% of the roster who can't beat the elite.
It's also the toughest division in the sport. So there's something to say like that. James Vick was on the rank for all these times. Good luck fighting James Vick. Sure. You don't know who you are, you're going to need it, right? Yeah. So there's that. I do think this. I think everyone's talking about, like, how would it be good for the mainstream? Well, it would be, because folks who just came to the sport in the last few years, they don't remember, but when Nick Newell, before he walked away from the sport, for fighters, even inside the UFC, but for sure outside the UFC, I've never seen a guy get mainstream thrust like that. People were asking and doing stories on him all the time, okay? So I think if he was actually in the UFC and performing it ably, it would do well. And there's another aspect of the story that no one's talking about. There's a huge portion, when you forget the mainstream, there's a huge portion of the martial arts community that have similar kinds of handicaps. There are blind wrestlers. I know, I've been down to Walter Reed. I know the guy who runs the Paralympic Jiu-Jitsu, or the Para-Jiu-Jitsu program down there. He's a Yamasaki black belt. All kinds of guys, veterans coming home with missing arms and missing legs. And there's actually an Abu Dhabi competition for this. All these people, you talk to them, to a man, look up to Nick Newell. They mention him by name every time. That guy should be given a chance that, to me, just doesn't feel like we're trying.